Hey up, I'm the Yorkshire Time Lord, and this is Dogs Over Dogs, the Silurians. Okay, so it's been a while since we've done one of these. A few things have happened in that time. You think there was the 2 Doctor Who games that were announced, and all the Time Lord Victorious stuff that have been announced as well. Certainly a lot of things going on in the Doctor Who world. But this will be the last one of these videos I'll be doing, because I'm going to start writing my first feature-length film soon. Start writing a screenplay for that. It's going to be a psychological horror called You. So that shall be fun. Anyway, this video is on the Silurians, and I actually said that right for once, because I used to call them Silurians, it's actually Silurians. And one of the odd things about the Silurians anyway is that they have a lot of names, like they're also known as the Earth Reptiles, the Eocene, I think I said that right, that's really their proper name, because that's actually the period of prehistory that they came from. And I don't know how to say Pisionisaur or Podomorph, if that's right or not. They're also known as Homo reptilicus, Homo reptilia, and Reptilia sapiens. And of course, the Silurians are native to Earth, and they actually predated us, the human race. They came before us, they were here before us. And that's one of the things I find really interesting about these Silurians, is that with their stories, in a sense, they aren't the invaders, we're the invaders. We're the ones that have taken the Earth land and turned it into our home, rather than it being the other way around and the aliens trying to conquer us. You know, it's almost like from their point of view, they see it as us trying to conquer their piece of land. I think that's a really interesting angle. You don't really see that a lot in science fiction. It's often focused on humans fighting against the alien invaders. They saw what they thought was a planet about to crash into them, and some went underground to avoid it. Some fled into space. And they later repeated the same trick of fleeing into space in the game, which I really enjoyed, called Evacuation Earth, which was a bit like the Professor Layton games, and that was set in the 29th century. They actually attached their ship to the human ship when the humans fled in their ship. So it was kind of desperate measures, although it was still a bit cheeky, really. I mean, they were basically hitching a ride on the humans, were asking them, hitchhiking in space. That would be a good title for a Doctor Who episode, Hitchhiking in Space. You know, an interesting thing you might not know about Silurians is that they can actually reproduce with humans, so they can create a Silurian-human hybrid. So you think if Madame Vastra was with a male partner, they would be able to reproduce and create offspring that are like human Silurian hybrids, because that was in the novel Spiral Scratch. That's really weird to think about. You could have these weird hybrids of humans and Silurians. And the other thing interesting about them is that you have different evolutionary sort of cycles. The original Silurians, the ones that Jon Pertwee met, they had a third eye which could control people's minds. They had telepathic powers. But the more recent ones, they don't have that third eye. And then there's that difference where the Pertwee ones have a more alien look, which some people prefer. And modern ones, they have a more humanoid look. But personally, I prefer the more humanoid look. Because the more humanoid look, it makes them more like us. It means we can empathise more with them, and we can understand them more from a human point of view. I find that really interesting, the way that they evolve over time. They never look the same, they always look different, a bit like the Criditanes in that sense. And of course, I've got aquatic cousins as well, the Sea Devils, which I quite like the Sea Devils. I'd like to see them return at some point. They haven't returned yet. They're the last iconic classic series villain yet to return, and still not back. And they can live for hundreds of years. So their lifespan is massive. They can just keep living longer than us. They outlive us. Of course, them being lizards, they're cold-blooded, which means they live in warmer temperatures, and they're a largely peaceful race, although, as we've seen in the Pertwee era, and the Davison era, and the Smith era, there are some that get a bit kind of deadly towards us humans. They see us as apes, they see us as like lesser species, and some of them do start fighting back against us. So they aren't entirely peaceful, but they strive to be peaceful. The first Silurians in the series, Jon Pertwee's doctor met them at Renly Moor, and they were woken by experiments at a nuclear power research centre. And what happened there is one moment where the Brigadier's a character. I normally love a Brigadier, but I didn't agree with what he did there when he blew him up. I thought that it was just totally wrong. It was irresponsible. You know, they could have negotiated a deal there for humans and Silurians to coexist, but he ruined it. I think that was a bit of a a bad move by him. And then obviously Peter Davison's Doctor, he met him next, Sea-Base 4 in 2084. And it didn't end well for them there either, because they were killed by hexachromite gas, which was released by the Fifth Doctor in the serial Warriors of the Deep. So, don't go well for the Silurians, does it? And the latest adventure, that took place in Wales 2020. And you think that was before people knew about what was going to happen with social distancing and the virus? Not a good year for a doctor to visit. And these Silurians, they were awoken by a drill operation. And the 11th Doctor did actually try to organise negotiations with humans and Silurians to cohabitate alongside each other. But unfortunately, they were destroyed by a humanoid woman called Ambrose, who killed Elliot. And then the Silurian Restak obviously killed Rory and Revenge. So they had no choice but to kill Restak's warriors with a toxic gas. So it's a bit of a shame for them. That was one where the Doctor nearly succeeded in organising something between the humans and Silurians, but it just didn't work out. There's been quite a few, notable Silurians. Obviously, Madame Vastra, who investigates various goings-on in Victorian times with Strax and Jenny. I quite like her. She's quite feisty. I quite like that. And of course, the actor who played Vastra, Neve McIntosh, he played both the main female Silurians in Hungry Earth Cold Blood and Madame Vastra as well. So that shows how diverse she is as an actor, which can make them all feel different like that, like different characters, and they don't all feel the same. I mean, Vastra is completely different to the Silurian she played in Hungry Earth Cold Blood. She's friendlier for a start. And the Cyber Silurians are quite cool, and Supremacy of Cybermen as well. The comic story, it's really cool, where Cybermen have taken over various species. The Cybermen have basically taken over, and they convert various species into being like them. It's quite a cool story. There's actually a book called Eternity Reaps, where it has the Silurians working for UNIT in 2003, which is quite forward-thinking, given that by then they're not coexisting alongside us. Could you imagine UNIT soldiers trying to work alongside Silurians? I can't see that working out very well. And then he gets to the 30th century in the book Survival Sin, and the part of the Earth Empire, they're actually members of government as well. I'm not sure how that would work, Silurians working in the government, so I can imagine there being a few problems there. One of the funniest things I find about the Silurian history in Doctor Who is that in this book called The Thespians, in the 91st century, it's actually a Silurian actor who's in the lead role of a film adaptation of H.G. Wells' The Time Machine. I find that a really funny thought, a Silurian actor playing the lead role in The Time Machine. That's quite entertaining. It shows how madcap Doctor Who can be. Yeah, I think those are the main points. I think those are our main things to say about the Silurians. They're very interesting characters. It's a unique take, given that they are the original inhabitants of Earth, so we're the invaders to them, and I hope they return again at some point in Doctor Who's history. What do you think about Silurians? Let me know in the comment section below.